Welcome everybody to this discussion session about sustainable agriculture. I'm Chagit Shvimer from ISERD, and I'm very happy to be here. And we have the honor to have two great speakers here in the panel. One represents Israel and one represents the EU. So we have Michal Levy, Senior Deputy Director General from the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development in Israel. And we have Alan Belward, a head of unit from the DG JRC in the European Commission. I'm very happy to be here with you. The Green Deal as a whole, and specifically in these call for proposals, open important opportunities for the industry, the researchers, and the economy and society. Many of the challenges that are being addressed in this call, specifically for agriculture and water management, are specifically important for us in Israel, like climate change, desertification, the need for better water management, and the need for food security. So I would like to start with you, Michal, to give us the Israeli perspective. So how do you see the collaboration in this Green Deal call fit into the Israeli food agri ecosystem from the governmental point of view?
Okay, first, thanks, Chagit, for asking me to join. I believe that this Green Deal call is very important, and I hope that, I'm sure that good things will come out of it. To your question, so I think that in the last 4 years, the number of Israeli startups in the field of agriculture grew, we can say, exponentially. It's of course hard for me to say how many startups are operating at this moment, but the numbers are, of course, are not fixed ones. I think that we can talk about 350, 400 companies, and of course, as a startup, it's a dynamic number. Of course, because of the nature of startups, that it can be successful, but unfortunately, it can also fail. I think that what is nice about the Israeli startups is that they are active in all fields of agriculture. We're talking about biotechnology, plant protection, robotics, machinery, animals, of course, aquaculture, we talked about it before, and, all the rest of the topics related to agriculture. Now, as a government, I think that we wish to increase this number, to have more and more entrepreneurs, more good new ideas. And also we want to see good interactions between all the stakeholders in this field. I'm talking about researchers, entrepreneurs, Israeli companies, international companies. And of course, we want to see together in this ecosystem our growers, the Israeli farmers, as well as international farmers. If we're talking about the Israeli farmers, we believe that as the Ministry of Agriculture, we have a unique perspective. This is because we are connected to the farmers from all aspects, and we can see the full picture. And on the other hand, we're also very much connected to the technological world and to the companies. They all come to us, they all speak with us, and of course, try to get our support and help. I think that this provides us a holistic view. And this means that we can identify needs and we can push farmers to implement new technologies. We can also push, the companies to modify and to adapt their solutions to better fit the farmers' needs. So it goes both ways. An additional aspect we bring as a government is the long-term view. We see the trends and we plan ahead. While small company needs to think about the next quarter or the next year goal, and not necessarily the whole picture. I think that the Green Deal call is unique fit to what that I have just described. It's an opportunity to push technologies and technology developers, also, of course, related to environment, to support the farmers to adapt and help the companies to fine-tune the technologies. And this is, of course, in order to answer all the challenges that we are facing. I think it's becoming more and more clear that power strength comes only when you are collaborate in a multidisciplinary approach. We know it today very well. A scenario where one player provide all the answers isn't sustainable anymore. The catch-all approach that used to be in the past can lead to a miss-all. So we need to have a platform that will allow multiple players to bring each one their specific niche and expertise, but to bring it together to combine and create strong solutions. This is also very much relevant to knowledge and sharing, creating knowledge and sharing this knowledge.
Sounds like the Green Deal comes right in time.
Yeah, definitely. I think that here in Israel, we're at the forefront of, the climate and environmental changes. So with years, this forces technology developers and farmers to adapt constantly. They have to make changes all the time. And we believe that, global collaboration and knowledge sharing related to these challenges can help other partners in the world to address these issues as well. Another opportunity that we see in this program is the ability to help with what we call the final push of development towards actual operational solutions. This is something that should not be overlooked, since transferring from concept or even beta stages to full production can present many challenges. So I think that the Green Deal came, just in time to facilitate these work and to support these technologies while they are going to the market. I can give one example.
Maybe I'm not sure we have enough time here.
Okay.
For the examples, so maybe we will move to Alan first, and if we have more time, we will go back to the examples.
Okay.
So I would like to ask you, Alan, how can the new Green Deal called support the longer term strategic collaboration between the EU and Israel in the agri-related sustainable development?
Thank you. I think that Michael just made the case, really. It's about sharing and collaboration. And that's because ultimately we both face the same issue. It doesn't matter whether agriculture is in Israel or agriculture is in the European Union. If we get it right, we can benefit the environment and we can make a positive contribution to climate mitigation, and we can deal with climate adaptation. The word there is can. If we get it wrong, we will do harm. And what that means is that we really need to understand is, where are we actually doing something good, sustaining biodiversity, mitigating against the climate, increasing carbon sink in the soil, and where are we getting it wrong? And so that brings down, I think, to three practical elements within the Green Deal as far as from my perspective. And the first one is we need to set common targets and indicators. Where are we going? Where do we want to be? A 50% reduction in pesticide use, something like that. That's the target. Then you need an indicator to say, how are we getting there? So that's the first thing, targets and indicators. Second area, I think, where we can share experience is on modeling and scenarios. So it's on building scenarios for the future, looking at the models to see, if I do this, I will make that better. And there it's about best practices and sharing what are the best practices as a result of making the models and applying the models to the scenario building. And then the third dimension is on control and assurance. And that's more on the government side. It's on the governing body side, because you want to make sure that whatever it is you put in place, your targets are actually being reached, that the scenarios are being realized. And so where you are doing good, you will continue to do good. Where you are doing harm, you will stop doing harm. What cuts across both of those is really what you were saying in the previous talk. It's about digitalization. It's about that digital agenda to keep that information flowing. And I'd go beyond collaboration to say it's communication. That's the second thing that goes across the board. We have to communicate between scientists, peer-to-peer, in terms of sharing best practice, sharing models, sharing information on targets. But it goes beyond that to communication between the science community and the policymaker, the scientist and the individual farmer, and all of us, and the individual consumer of what is grown and what is produced. So I think that's pretty much where I'm coming from.
So, Michal, you can add if you want something.
Yeah, I wanted to present, a collaboration by bringing an example of something that I'm aware of that's, happening now in Israel. And it's also related to agriculture, of course, but circular economy and COVID-19 that we were facing, and we are facing actually. And it's related to the black soldier fly, the BSF. So in Israel, there are 3 totally separate startups companies, very new. They are relatively small companies, just started to work. The first one is working on a technology how to freeze the BSF eggs. The second company is developing continuous system to feed the BSF larva. And the third one is working on how to transfer the mature larva to fish feed. So I think that these 3 companies, together with other companies and growers, fish growers, can work together in a collaboration in order to develop a method. I mean, how to take the black soldier fly larva and makes it a fish feed. Okay, so the Green Deal call is addressing specifically these aspects, and actually, if we'll take these companies and put them together with other companies that deals with fish food and other topics, it can bring everyone a good solution. So this is only one example of what can be done using the Green Deal call.
Yes, there's a lot of opportunities in these calls, and as we talked before, a little bit before, specifically the farm to fork call for proposal, which opens a lot of opportunities to all the value chain, from the growers to the eaters. While we're here, I think, I don't know if we can stay here or not, but I think it's a good opportunity, as Michal started, to start to think of potential collaboration between Israel and Europe with specific challenges that we have here and specific innovation that we can bring from Europe. If you both have ideas, I think it will be very interesting to hear.
Do you want to go first, Michal?
I can raise two topics that I believe the whole world is, challenged by them, and I believe that the COVID-19 just, brought to the surface these two topics. The first one is the lack of workforce in agriculture. And the second one is how to bring more protein in a sustainable way, plant-based protein, and in order to bring to food security, I think that here in Israel during COVID-19, and I know also the rest of the world didn't suffer from a shortage with food, but we saw how it can happen, okay? We understood that we can face a moment like that. And because of that, a lot of countries, it's funny to say following the COVID-19 because we are still in it, but let's say following the major hype, trying to work on programs how to be self-sufficient for protein, calories, food in general. And I think this should be an international effort because, of course, we're talking about self-sufficient, but the means should be the same for all of us, okay? How to grow better plants containing higher percentage of protein and etc. So this is from one hand, and from the other point of view is the manpower. And I think that robotics and machinery is something that we see a lot of development here in Israel, but still, we're not there yet. I mean, in the field. And I know it's the same in Europe.
It is indeed, and there is a lot of attention to right to the end of that in terms of informing our population in terms of dietary choices and what the consequences of that are. And I think the other area where we need to is more on the field. It's in terms of getting this, we use the term policy coherence, of whatever it is that we're doing in terms of boosting agricultural production should not be at the cost of damaging biodiversity or increasing carbon emissions. So it's about getting coherence between the targets that we have for the climate change. So for trying to go climate neutral by 2050, we can reduce industrial emissions as much as we like, but if we don't actually start increasing soil carbon uptake, there will be a gap. And we have to close that gap. And we need to do that by increasing soil carbon sequestration. The whole notion of trying to value biological diversity, and not just biodiversity, but the cultural aspect of it, the landscapes of the rural communities, the very sort of rural culture that we have is largely dependent on agriculture. It's the farmers that have formed our landscapes over thousands of years. And unless it goes back to your argument about employment, because if everybody deserts the rural communities, they won't look like they do now. So the people that flood out of the cities at the weekends to go and enjoy the beautiful, where I live, Tuscan countryside, it wouldn't look like it does if people weren't farming it. And so whatever we need to do, we need to pay attention to that side as well. So it is a multifaceted problem. You have to address the carbon, you have to address the biodiversity, the landscape, and the jobs, keeping people there. And maybe sharing experiences is the good thing. I mean, you're not governed by the same agricultural policy as we are, but there are many shared things like, ecological focus areas and this new intention, the new move in the new common agricultural policy to try and put a greater value on the environment and the climate dimensions of it.
That's true, but at the end, the needs are the same. We all need jobs, and we all need food.
Yes.
And we all need agriculture, with a good quality.
Yes.
And yes, it's true for Italy, and it's true for Israel.
Absolutely.
Yes, we a little bit discussed this issue, Michal and I, a few days ago, and we said that Israel is a little bit different because well, if we look at Europe, we're isolated. Mm-hmm. Well, if we have Corona or whatever disaster, we can't bring food. It's not very easy to bring food or any other equipment from other countries by train or by truck.
Right.
So in this aspect, Israel is not exactly like all the European countries that can support each other in this aspect.
Right.
I agree, but the European Union is also very, very aware that food security of supply is a strategic factor for all of us.
Right.
And in some ways, COVID-19 has brought that, as well as the jobs, it's brought that into stark reality, into view.
Yeah.
As we said right at the beginning, everybody's got to eat.
Yes.
Right. Well, Hagit, Israel is basically an island. If you look, from that perspective, unfortunately. But with years, I guess because of that, because of the necessity, we developed very good technologies of how to storage grains. And I think that this is something that we do share with the international community, what technologies we use and how we storage for long-term grains and other food in order not to be in a shortage in different times. So this is a good example for how you can collaborate and share knowledge and information in order to benefit, other countries. This is something we already developed and we are doing, and it's working well. So.
And as you said earlier about communication and collaboration in terms of sharing our knowledge of the impacts of the food chain on its sustainability in terms of dietary choice.
Yeah.
Yes, so as far as I understand from this discussion, innovation should go both directions.
Oh, yeah.
From Europe to Israel and
Definitely.
from Israel to Europe.
Definitely.
Must. It's a must. Yeah.
That's the whole essence of cooperation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're in a good starting point for the Green Deal and the call for proposals and all this good program.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we can finish up this discussion now. Thank you so much for being here with us, with me.
Yeah, it's a pity not to be there. But
and I think the good discussion we had here is just demonstrate the good effect of these call for proposal and the very good collaboration we will have.
And think of the carbon we saved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thanks a lot. Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.